Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Hospitable Hosts podcast. Welcome back. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the future of guest experience management with Shiven Khera, CEO of LinkBase. We're going to be on the basics of automated check-in messages to explore the transformative power of rules-based digital guest journeys and automated upsells. If you enjoy today's episode, please don't forget to like and share. Hey Shiven, welcome on. Nice to have you here.
Hey Miles, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So before we get started with the questions, maybe we can start with a bit of an introduction of yourself. Can you introduce yourself, your background, and what LinkBase does?
Oh, absolutely. So my name is Shivan. I actually just finished my university a couple of years ago at the University of British Columbia. So that's my undergrad background. I did my undergrad in Canada actually, in a city called Kelowna, which is on the west coast near Vancouver. Very beautiful
Nice.
place. So come, please do come visit. It's a vacation rental town as well. Um, so I did my business degree over there. I also spent a number of months at the University of Cambridge doing my undergrad, part of my undergrad there as well in the UK. About 2 years ago, when I finished university, I started LinkBase, and LinkBase is a guest experience platform that transforms the guest journey into a digital rules-based guest journey and allows property managers and hosts to collect damage deposits, damage waivers, just make it super simple, have step-by-step check-in instructions, have lobby access, door lock access, obviously do upsell. So we're an all encompassing everything to do with guests, we're able to accomplish under LinkBase. So I started that in 2022, and so far we're very lucky to be welcomed into this industry and have clients from a global standpoint. So we're very grateful to be here.
Nice. I didn't know that you'd been and studying in Kelowna. I've actually been there a couple of times. Love Kelowna. Beautiful place.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
So cool. Let's get into the questions then, Shivan. Let's get into what the listeners are here for. So obviously, many of our listeners, sorry, are familiar with the term guest journey, but can you share your perspective on what a rules-based guest journey is, and how what that entails, and why it's becoming increasingly important in the short-term rental space?
Absolutely. Well, a guest journey is simply all the information that you want your guest to provide you and all the steps that they need to undertake before they can check in into the property. And what a rules-based digital guest journey is that you set the rules on all the specific information that specific guest in that specific circumstance needs to give you for them to easily check in into the property. So having a rules based guest journey basically means that you're not annoying the guest with a lot of irrelevant information that they may not need to provide. And you're just having rules so that it's easy for the guest, easy for you, everything all in one place. So I can give you a quick example what it could look like. So a guest journey could entail things like, for example, you want to collect damage deposits or damage waivers, and you also want to get your house rules document to be signed, and you want guest verification done, for example. Now, you may not want to do these things for every single guest. You may only want to do it for guests who are, booking either directly from your website or booking directly from your website and bookings.com, but not for guests from Airbnb and VRBO. And so, what you're able to do in a rules based guest journey is define which steps to show to which guests and only show the steps to specific guests when they're the ones checking in.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a good example there as well. So, how can that thoughtfully crafted digital journey powered by rules and automation, how's that going to elevate the guest experience and foster more positive reviews?
Well, it elevates the guest experience because, to be very honest, Miles, guests want it simple. If it's simple, it's convenient. Automatically, you're in line for that good 5-star review. Because at the end of the day, you have to collect this information. It is important. It is essential for your business and your company. It is an extra step that the guest needs to undertake after making the booking process. So the easier you can make it for them, more convenient you can make it for them, you're going to get that positive review. So when you have a rules based digital guest journey, especially everything in one spot, what that allows you to do is guests are able to quickly finish one step, click onto the next, click onto the next. So you're sending them one link rather than, after they book, you're giving them one link to put in their credit card information. Then you're emailing a DocuSign, for example, to sign your house rules. So you don't have to necessarily do that. You have everything in one spot. And when you make it so simple and everything for guests is in one convenient location, everything including the check-in instructions and the door lock codes and guidebooks, and you're enhancing the stay that way, especially adding services like early check-in, late checkout for purchase and add-ons, that absolutely increases positive reviews and increases and enhances the guest experience.
Okay, yeah, and so you kind of talked about add-ons there, and early check-in, late checkout.
Mhm.
I want to kind of get onto that a bit more. So, I think many hosts are kind of hesitant on upselling, fearing that it might come across as pushy in certain circumstances. So, how can like automated upsells, when done right, be seen as a value add for the guests rather than a nuisance?
That's an awesome question, actually, because I the way I view upsells is I use the term services. At the end of the day, it's a service, that you're providing to your guest, and I really think that I'm very bullish on providing these services, given it adds guest convenience. And the way the stats are, like, at least I can talk to you about, you know from the data of clients that use LinkBase to do upselling. We have seen that over 50% of guests are either asking for requesting for an early check-in or a late checkout, and it is something that guests are willing to pay for as well, because it's a service that they're wanting and needing. So a good example of this could be, for example, if somebody has a flight that's just landed and the check-in time is at 4 p.m., even though as a host you may have your property available, the guests are constantly requesting and asking. Now, if you're able to add that as a service, number one, you would get lesser number of guests to request it from you. So then it becomes a less of a nuisance for you overall, given some people may not want to pay for it, some people may want to pay for it. And the people who would want to pay for it, then you can prioritize those properties to get cleaned early, make that additional revenue. And that guest is absolutely going to leave you a better 5-star review, given they were able to check in early because of a service that you had in your toolkit. So I look at it as a service, and I think it absolutely enhances guest convenience. At the end of the day, guests don't want to check out just at 10 a.m. Many times, people like myself, like I want that extra hour. It goes a long way for me. So it just absolutely enhances guest convenience, where it's something that people can see that it's available. It's something for a price, and overall just becomes easy and convenient both for the host and also for the guest.
Cool. And so you obviously talked about, as a service, upselling services. Is there any physical products that you would suggest that people do consider as well, or is in your mind just services for upsells?
Well, it's absolutely physical products as well. So I can give you a couple of examples on what uh, people in the link-based portfolio are doing. So universally, if for just to start it out, for people who are listening and they're curious about upselling and they're thinking, maybe what, it's going to be an extra headache, not sure where to start, what to do. There are three things, and I think they come under the services category, and then I'll touch base on products. Three things that I think every property management company, every host actually has, that they can start monetizing on. The first thing is early check-in. Second is late checkout, because it's exactly, you have the property, you have the guest, they've booked with you. It's something that you can offer. And guests, I can tell you, even if you think that, hey, I can't offer my property 3 hours early or 2 hours early, you can have the option of just a 1 hour early check-in, and I can tell you a lot of guests would want to pay for it. And a third one is a mid-stay clean. So these are three for everybody listening. This is something that you could go in and try right away. But in terms of products, for properties that are near campsites, you could do firewood. We've seen people rent out kayaks. We've seen people rent out a Valentine's package. Valentine's Day is coming up in about a month from now, less than that. So you could look into something like that. Another cool one is a popcorn movie night experience. So you can actually have a little kit in a zipper pouch right in your property that has a few things to make a movie night special, and have that as an add-on. And for guests, that really is that extra, you're going that extra mile to provide that extra service. So there are many ideas. A lot of hosts I actually saw had a very cool upsell for during Christmas. They actually had a Christmas tree. Like, you could actually get a decorated Christmas tree right into your property, and I thought that was very cool. And many people actually opted for it. When people are coming together as a family, they just want that extra feature in there, and it just not only enhances the stay, people are willing to pay for it, and it just overall boosts reviews for everybody.
Yeah, nice. I think I would have paid for the Christmas tree. My wife made us bring ours in the car, so I would definitely have opted for that extra.
That's awesome.
Cool. So, we talked there about kind of what to upsell, but I think timing's equally important. So, when do you or how do you figure out the optimal time to trigger such a message? Right? Is it before the stage, during the stage? And I guess it's going to depend on what we're upselling, right?
Absolutely. Like it's a very, very important question. I'm glad you asked that as well. Because I think with upsells, people would want it. Well, number one, it's very important for guests to know that that exists in the first place. That's why having a guest journey allows you to not shoot them too many messages because everything is in one spot. They can see it. So that's one good thing. The second thing is with upselling is you have to tell the guest in a specific time frame. Like for example, a late checkout would not be relevant at the time when they book the property and you're sending a booking confirmation message, but would be very relevant a day prior to checkout, especially on the evening off when you know that the next morning you have to wake up at 10 a.m. and you have to be wake up maybe earlier and have to be out of the property by 10. So the way we have figured out is that at least in the LinkBase ecosystem is that there has to be specific wording that you need to have, not too annoying, not something that's too aggressive. You're just letting guests know that this is a service that we have, and if they're interested, this is something they can look into. So and everything is on a request basis as well, because that just shows the mentality to the guest that this is a request they can make, and if the management company is able to, they can accommodate. So if somebody after the podcast would want that specific wording, we actually have a whole template and a doc. I can absolutely share that if that is helpful for anybody, but you have to use specific words so that it comes across as a service. And then in terms of timing, generally the rule of thumb for the three upsells that convert the most, which is early check in, late checkout. Let's just talk about actually two so that it's convenient for people on the podcast. You know, tell share the guest journey, the web app basically at the time of the booking so that they can look around, see everything. But the main magic happens a week prior. Remind them there's a early check-in option that they can request. 2 days prior to check-in, remind them again that this is something that they would look like, and also accompany it with other information. Say, hey, your check-in instructions would also be available on the day off in the morning, so that they understand this was a message not really to sell to them. This is a message which is communicating something important, and is also mentioning that there's an option that they can request an early check-in. And then the third and the last message that you send is only a day prior to checkout, which is just letting them know, hey, I hope you had a great stay. If your checkout time is at 10 a.m., so letting them know that important information as well, because sometimes guests tend to forget, and your cleaners might be at the door and there might be a miscommunication. So always better to communicate anyway what the checkout time is, and then letting them know about the option that if they want to request a late checkout, they can, because that's the time they would. So if you follow that flow at the time of booking, a week prior, 2 days prior to check in, and the night before checkout, that would be a very success strategy for you, a success formula, I would say, that as we have seen work for at least early check in, late checkouts. So that will make anyway the bulk of your upsells.
Cool, interesting. And do you see hosts doing any kind of segmenting with their guests or approaching upselling differently for different guests or different properties?
Absolutely, for different properties,
Hmm.
because every property is unique. The location might be unique. There could also be added features. For example, kayak rentals might be available for a specific property. Firewood would only be
Yeah.
for a specific property, but not for others. For guests, the way I look at it is this: if you are somebody who hasn't tried upsells, because I've really figured out one thing is to if you want to succeed in upsells, it has to be simple for you and for your guests as well. So segmenting guests, more than that, focus on actually adding a few upsells in there and having good processes in place. And if you are somebody who has already done that, and you have figured what your process is, you have a few upsells in line, then you can use a platform that actually has the AI capability of knowing based on the guest data, example, reason for travel, where the guest is coming from. Based on that, they can predict what kind of upsells they would be interested in and only show that in the guest journey so that it's nice and easy for guests, and they're not getting diluted with other bunch of options that they may not necessarily be interested in. So I think using a platform at that point would be a cool idea. But I would say for most people, my recommendation would be to segment it based on property, absolutely, but based on guests, uh, let AI do it. Don't go as far, given the main idea behind upselling is to add revenue, add that guest convenience, but not add extra work for yourself. So I would highly recommend doing that, especially after working with so many property managers and seeing the pain points up front. I totally would give that advice, that go into the details for the property, but not as much for the guests right away. But if you do
Yeah.
want to, it's a great idea. Use a platform that has AI enabled, that you can, that would allow you to do so.
Okay, interesting. So I'd love to kind of get your thoughts as well on, if I've implemented my, rule-based digital guest journey, and I've implemented some upselling, how do I measure success? What are some of the metrics I should be looking at to just find if, this is working or it might need improvement?
Well, one of the metrics is this, is your reviews. Because if you have a rules-based digital guest journey, I can tell you it is the future. It is what most guests are going to be using it to check in from now on. And all the bigger property management companies have already started uh, introducing that to their guests, and it is becoming the new norm. So the first metric would be that you would potentially see a lot more five-star reviews. And the other metric would be that you would have less work. Every day you'd be logging into a dashboard to see where every guest is in their guest journey, and you won't be bugging guests. It would be all automated. So that's another metric for success. When it comes to looking at metric for success for upselling dollars, well, I can tell you that if you are a management company with a portfolio of even just 10 properties, bare minimum, if you don't want to start with anything else but just early check and late checkout, you would be generating upwards of $100 per property per month, or right around that number. What that would mean is that you would be doing close to $1,000 in profits right into your bottom line, because that's money that goes straight to the host, goes straight to the management company. If you're managing for somebody else, it necessarily doesn't go to their account. So that's money for you. And so that metric would mean that you would be generating close to $12,000 in your bottom line just by offering services like that every single year. So that's another metric for success that you can look at, and target that $100 per property per month bottom line if you're just starting out in upselling.
Nice. That's a good yardstick to aim for. I like that. Cool. So I think one final question from me. So I think some hosts can sometimes be concerned with kind of losing the personal touch if we're automating too much. How would you address that concern? And how do you get the right balance between automation and human interaction?
Well, that's an amazing question. In the world of AI and the world of automation, it is very important to have that human touch. And I think it's a balance. It's a balance. So the way I look at it is, when you're trying to share information that is essential, well, you can share that using an automated message, because at the end of the day, a welcome message and a message which is just sharing, hey, this is our guest journey platform, click on this link, instructions on how to navigate things, use that through automation. Upselling, use some of it through automation. But even in those automated messages, you can add wording and script in such a way that it looks more human like. And I think it's very important to actually go ahead and make your scripts that way, because that's something that guests appreciate. That's what's actually going to get you those five-star reviews as well, when guests feel that. So I think it's all about doing things right in terms of the wording. And again, I'm more than happy to share that document on the wording on how that could be shared, because we have a template, and we've seen, um, just by changing the wording and adding human like factors in there, just makes a big difference, not only on your conversion of upsells, but also your interaction from guests. You can see guests interacting with those messages a lot differently than what it would be through just an automated message. But I would absolutely say it is a fine balance. Definitely don't go, even though I run a tech company which is completely based on automation, I don't recommend hosts to just simply rely on automation all the time. Absolutely have that human touch in there. And when you are doing automation, make sure that it's scripted well, it's written well, and you're not just hitting send. That's why for us, at least in LinkBase, we really sit down with hosts to make sure that the scripts are very beautiful and they're articulated well, because it makes a lot of difference even though it's an automated message.
Nice. I like that. Cool. Thank you so much, Shiven. If people want to go and find out a bit more about LinkBase, where can they head?
Well, the best way is if you just type www.linkbase, linkbase.ca. Sometimes people type .com or .ca. So it's linkbase.ca. And then if you want to book a demo, you're more than welcome to, or you can just navigate the website. And if you just want to reach out, you can just reach out to me on my email, shiven@linkbase.ca. My first name spells like SHIVEN at linkbase.ca. Shoot me an email. I'm very happy to answer any questions. And if you just want the script, I'm just happy to share it with you as well, because we have it all documented and made. So I'm more than happy to give that.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Shiven. That's been fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you, Miles. And once again, I'm very happy to work with Hospitable, and we're very grateful for being seamlessly integrated with Hospitable. It's an amazing PMS, and I just want to give a shout out to Hospitable here as well.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hello again, one final time. Thank you so much for joining us today and listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like and share, and we'll see you next time for the next Hospitable Host podcast.